Welcome, everybody, to the Bush and Mee Show. We're back for the playoffs, baby. It's good to see you, big dog.
Good to see you too, my brother.
For those of you guys that are new to the Bush and Me platform, a little bit about how we got to where we are today. We played football in college together, Towson
You,
University,
to
TU,
you.
TU, tight end and tackle. One of us had 2 touchdowns and a game-winning 2-point conversion. The other one of us went on to play over 12 years in the NFL.
Yeah, don't short me either. Do not short my
Super
years.
Bowl champion, 2-time Pro Bowler, Ed Block Courage Award, and one of us had 2 touchdowns and a game-winning 2-point conversion. While you were off in the NFL doing your thing, I had a 10-year career in Wall Street.
Yeah.
Fine-tuned my analytics, and then we started this podcast in 2019. We got together.
2019 is what was our start. We started to throw the idea around, and man, we just started it, and we had I ain't gonna say a couple hiccups, but life. Sometimes life will take you off in different places and different spaces, so it's all good, But we're back here and we're back now, and that's what matters.
We're back now. You did a little stint in coaching. I started my own business with sports handicapping. And here we are back again now for you guys. We got the analytics side with me. You got the athletic side with Bush. Athletics and analytics. If that's what you guys are looking for, that's what we're giving you here. So we're going to jump into it with Wild Card Weekend.
Yes.
It's great. It's great Wild Card Weekend. You got one game at a time. It's football from Saturday to Monday.
Yeah.
But looking back at week 18, how we got here, a couple of teams needed must wins. Most of them got them except for Jacksonville. But week 18 for me was a little more fun to watch with those incentives that people had going out there. It's in the public now, very public.
Yes.
Everybody's pockets are in the paper.
There's definitely a lot of pocket watching going on these days. With the access to social media, people think that all information should be their information, right? But at the end of the day, here we are. So everybody knows exactly what you make. But it was definitely a huge weekend or huge game for guys to make just a little bit extra change on that contract.
A little bit of change. You had Clowney got that sack for $750. Jordan Love got that win. Chris Jones got that sack. It looked like he kind of fell down and he just touched him, but it was a very, very lucrative play.
Hey man, listen, and what I love about it is the reaction that you get from your teammates.
Oh yeah.
I was listening to a good friend, Chris Long, and an opponent, on his podcast, Green Light Pod, and he talked about just the understanding of the teammates that you have. That, hey man, listen, I need this half sack, I need this sack. Help me get this little extra bag in my pocket. So
Right.
And you can see when you listen to a guy like Chris talk, and then you see how Jadeveon Clowney and his Raven teammates were so ecstatic for him when he got that extra sack and that extra bag, I guess you could say.
The content we need though is we need that camera in the owner's office when that sack happens. He's like, God damn it, motherfucker. That's the content we need.
Hey, now you might be on to something. Can you imagine the reaction? But listen, at the end of the day,
Get him out of there.
you're talking about 500. You're talking about 500,000, $1 million. That's they made that an interest. With the snap of my fingers. Most of these owners, so they'd be all right.
Baker Mayfield was another one out there. He got the win. I think he got 1.5 million. Played in, had to play over 85% of his plays, and I think it was in 98.9%. There was somebody else that I know that had an incentivized contract like that when he went to Miami. Tell us about that one.
Oh, story time with Bush.
Story
Come on,
time.
everybody. Just sit down, cozy up for a couple of minutes, and let me talk to you about how I hit all these escalators in my contract. Okay, let me just get into it a little bit. Yeah, man, listen. Coming from Chicago in 2015, man, I had a couple bad injuries, and I ended up getting shoulder surgery in 2016. Adam Gase goes from Chicago to Miami. I follow him there. He takes care of me. He gets me in there, but I have to find a way to earn my spot. I'm switching positions from left tackle to right tackle. So, they're not trying to invest too much into me financially, which I get it. I understand. I just came off a pretty major surgery, right? So my agent, Rich Rosa, goes to their GM, assistant GM, and structuring my contract. They gave me a base. And I'll throw the numbers out there. It is what it is.
Mm.
They know anyway. All you got to do is Google it, right? So, that's the thing. So my base was like $1 million. This is year 10 for me, and I told them straight up, I ain't signing that. We're not doing that. No, not just for $1 million. I'm not doing that. It sounds so bad when I say it like that, but
Just thinking. Our list, our listeners are like, "Oh, you would do that for $1 million?"
oh, you're not going to do that for $1 million, but really, at the end of the day, it's risk and reward, and it just really didn't outweigh itself. But at the end of the day, they set up escalators in my contract. 50%, you get another 250,000. 75%, you get another 250,000. 80%, you get another 250,000. 85%, you get another 250,000. Here's the kicker: it was 85% plus playoffs. You get another 1.5.
Mm.
December 24th, 2016. It's at it was Dolphins at Bills. Boy, we put up another 200-yard rushing game. Shout out to Jay Ajayi, but we went up there, we handled business. Hard fought overtime win, and I remember celebrating, and we're like, oh, we just made the playoffs. I got back in the locker room, I went straight on the phone. I said, Rich, check the contract, dog. I think we hit them all. I said, I think we hit them all. I said, check it up. Let me know what it says. Click. 2 minutes later, hey, big dog, we got it. And I was like, what you mean, we?
We
I got it.
he got he got that 3%.
Hey,
He's like,
he gonna
we
get his
did it.
cut.
We
That's my
did
dog.
it.
Hey, that's my dog, though. That's why
Shout
you
out
pay
to
your
Vic.
agent. That's why you pay your agent in those types of moments. But man, yeah, that's really my only incentive story I got, but I think it's a great one. And I
Hell
remember,
yeah.
yeah, I mean, but yeah, so shout out. Same thing that
And
just
that
kind of happened to Baker Mayfield. So I know he's excited because I don't know what his numbers look like going into it, but unfortunately, those guys did win and they kicked my Saints out the playoffs. So it is what it is. But Baker proved a lot of people wrong. So shout out to him.
so speaking of the Saints, that's a great story, by the way. All you
Thanks.
guys out there, set up some incentives in your life.
Hey man,
Hit them goals.
hit them
I
goals,
remember
man.
I remember we went to New York one time. You were visiting me in New York. Short story. And it was like 2,500 to get a table.
Oh,
And
since we're just throwing out numbers here now,
I
huh?
looked at you. I looked at you and I was like, 2,500. You want to split it? And you're like, and you lean up against the wall and you go, it's all right. I just got $100,000 workout bonus. I was like, what? For working out? But we're
Hey,
throwing numbers out there. That was a great story.
yeah. I mean,
Um,
if we're going to just release numbers, it is what it is.
you're talking about the Saints missing the playoffs.
Ah,
A lot of people aren't happy with the Saints right now. The way that game ended. I didn't watch it live, but just catching what other people said, it looks like they sent out victory formation. Jameis said, "Nah, we're not doing that. We're getting a touchdown from my boy." They ran the play from victory formation,
yeah,
that's where I'm kind of like,
yeah,
show your
yeah.
cards if you're gonna do it. And then Arthur Smith gets fired, gets pissed off. You played with Jameis. You got a history with the Saints. You know Allen. What are your thoughts on all this?
Hey man, first and foremost, Saints Falcons. It's a huge rivalry. I mean, you know how many people were in the building? We just needed to win that game, but that is a heated rivalry and really all of NFL, but the NFC South, that's the biggest rivalry in that division. Okay. So I understand Arthur Smith's frustration at the end of the game. But what would have happened, right? Okay, if Tyron would have, if he wouldn't have ran out of gas and got tackled at the one, they would have scored anyway. So you wouldn't have had that reaction from the pick six that put the Saints offense in that position. But you got to really go back and look at the scenario. Look at Jamal Williams last NFL season. How many touchdowns did he have? 17.
Mm.
He goes over and he's a free agent this year, and they bring him in to back up Alvin Kamara. You know how many touchdowns he scored this year? One.
Mm.
The last play of the Saints regular season. The last play of the season. So it was a road call by Jameis, but it wasn't just Jameis. If you listen to the rest of his teammates, it was everybody. And who was out there. They made the decision, and I believe Calais Campbell on the Falcons said the same thing when they were out on the field. They made a decision to go for it. Now, I think the thing that's probably frustrating from Arthur Smith's perspective is the fact that um, it was ran out of victory formation. I've never seen that before, so I can get that. But I think the thing that's frustrating is one, you got the players making a decision. I mean, I played in this game for a dozen years, so um, I'm always going to look at the player side first.
Of
Um,
course.
of course, at the end of the day, but DA Dennis Allen got up there and he apologized to Arthur Smith and the Atlanta Falcons. I wish he would have kind of kept that in house. He could have bit the bullet, I guess you could say, for his team in that moment, and really took that. But at that moment, at that time, he didn't see that that was the right move to do. But DA's got to live whatever decision. Jameis has to live with that decision, and the rest of the players as well. But you know what? At the end of the day, they wanted to fulfill and make their teammate happy. Could it have been done a different way? For sure, but it wasn't, and that's what it is at the end of the day. And at the end of the day, the Saints don't like the Falcons, and we're going to try to run the score up anyway. So it is what it is.
I heard Shannon Sharp was really upset about it, saying
Yeah, well, I mean,
he would cut Jameis, and
cut
Dennis Allen's got to
Jameis,
get
like, come on,
fired.
come on. I mean, Jameis. I don't agree with Shannon Sharp on that one. I thought it was a bad take. I get it. They got to say things to get their voices out there more. But Shannon was a player.
Yep,
He was a player for a very long time before he converted over to the
competitive
media
too.
side. Huh?
Competitive player too, so he probably would have
Absolutely.
that fire in his belly.
Absolutely. So, it was a decision that was made, and all the players stood behind it. At the end of the day, it is what it is. You can't go back and turn back the hands of time. So Saints won. We beat the Falcons. We got our revenge from earlier in the year, so we're all happy, fan wise, anyway.
Big win, big win. Arthur Smith did get fired. Um, a lot of coaches, it looks like, are going to get fired. We don't want to see it happen, but it's just something that happens. The attrition in this league.
Yeah.
I've read something that since the turn of the century, um, 6.8 coaches per year lose their job in this league.
Wow.
There's 21% of the coaching jobs there's turnover in every year. Now, last year there was only 5, so you got to think it's going to be a little higher above the mean to keep that average.
Yeah.
And I'm hearing a lot of experts out there say 7 to 10.
7 to 10. Well,
7 to 10.
there's already 4. There's
Yep.
already 4 vacancies.
Yep.
Who I mean,
There's a couple other. I mean, I don't know what the timing of this video when it's going to come out. There might be some that happen, so you don't want to speak on too many of them. But um, some big names out there that could fill the open positions.
yeah.
Ben Johnson for the
Shout out to
Lions.
shout out to Ben, man. I had a chance to be alongside that guy when I went back to play in 2018.
Did you?
Yeah,
I
and
didn't.
if we're talking about potential candidates that have an opportunity to be a head coach, you got to look at the defensive side for the Lions as well. Shout out to Aaron Glenn, really a real long time player, and has been a coach in this league for a very long time. Had an opportunity to be under, not specifically under his coaching, but had an opportunity to be around him as he was a coach for the New Orleans Saints under that Sean Payton umbrella as well. So he's done a great job himself up there in Detroit. So, that's what happens when you have success. Dan Campbell has done a great job of aligning a nice coaching staff that's going to help motivate and push these players. And what happens when you consistently win? They want some of that secret sauce. So I'm excited to see kind of how things really roll up with that. I mean, really to kind of ask you a question off script, but what do you think is the most when you're talking about teams with head coach vacancies? What do you think is the most attractive job?
Which team?
Yeah, which team?
So of the teams that are open right now, it wouldn't be Carolina.
No.
And they have no draft picks, so I don't know when. Um, you gotta like. LA, the Chargers.
Yeah,
You got Herbert, you're young. They're young. It's who doesn't want to live in LA? If you got to convince the wife, you're like, baby, it's LA.
it's LA, baby. It's LA. Mhm.
um, I'm trying to think of who else would come open. You don't want to see the Bears job come open, but I mean, they're young and have a lot of draft picks. They got two in the top 10. If
Yeah,
that
that's
job were to
exciting.
come open, the Patriots look terrible this year, but they got the history there. They have, um, I guess, some assets. They have a good defense.
Yeah,
So if Belichick does part ways there, that might be a good job. I don't know if I'd want to go to Washington. Rumors about Tennessee, Vegas. Vegas would be good if Pierce doesn't get that job.
I think I like. I mean, I like Pierce out there in Vegas, man. I thought he did a solid job coming in to motivate those players, get those players heading in the right direction. But
If
I
I had to,
really have to.
if I had to give you an answer, it would be LA with the Chargers.
Yeah, because you really got to start at the quarterback position.
Hmm.
You got a guy who can definitely get the ball down the field. He's smart, big arm talent. I think the Chargers are definitely a pretty attractive fit right now. Yeah, I'm in agreement with you on that one, big dog.
Yeah, but a lot of things that people don't know when they're sitting on their couch, just talking about, oh, get rid of his ass, get rid of this, bring this guy in. Like they don't know all the intangibles that actually go into it. I mean, you played there, but you played before. You
Yeah.
played for who Tressman and Fox, right? Were the two in
Yeah, I mean, I
Chicago.
was in Chicago for 3 years and I had two different head coaches, and that was really my first time as a player having to deal with that because I came from New Orleans, which was the epitome of stability. When you're talking about head
Look at you.
coach, GM, head coach, coordinators, it wasn't a whole bunch of turnaround. So you would come in, you would know the system, you would know the team's expectations, you would know how they're trying to build the team. You really felt like after you spent a year or two there, you kind of knew what your role was. But then when you go to an organization that has a lot of turnover, um, after a couple of years, like you're just getting used to being in the system, right? Being around the coaches. And the next thing you know, a guy gets fired in a year. Then you have to restart all over again. Then you have to go back and figure out, not figure out, but make that good first impression. Figure out if you are a fit and do they feel like you're a fit or do they feel like you are worth too much money or that you're paid too much money. So it's really all about figuring out how you fit in a new system when a whole new regime comes into town. Again, I was there in 2013 with Tressman coming in, and then you had a lot of guys on that Bears team that was salty as hell that Lovie Smith got fired coming off a 10-6 season, which I understand. Right. So when Tressman came in, you had a bunch of grown ass men who did not buy in to his system, to his philosophy, thinking that everything had to be changed and micromanaging people. Like that's just not the type of organization that the Chicago Bears was then, and that's not the type of players that they had. And that didn't last long. Unfortunately, he got fired after a couple years, and then Fox came in. And then I think when John Fox came in, I was one of those players that obviously can get the job done because I had done it for previous years before. But then when a new regime comes in, they're trying to figure out, well, how can I save money here? Do I feel like I could develop these areas of this team? So, it's really about trying to figure out how you fit into a new organization. And that's always difficult for players that have either one been established in those places, but it's the NFL, man. It's the job, it's a business, and you got to go out and you got to prove yourself day in, day out, week in, week out, in every single game. So that's part of the deal,
That's good though. That's good insight for people out there that these are people's livelihoods too. That they're just like, get rid of his ass,
for sure.
bring
For
in a
sure.
new, yeah. Da, 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 da. People got to move uproot their whole families. Um,
Well, speaking of new guys or moving your whole families, I will say this. I don't know if you have something over there, but boy, these NFL script writers, they were really in their bag, big dog, when they were talking about writing the overall playoff scenario because
Uh-huh.
we have so many different familiar faces in new places. And it just so happens that the playoff schedule was completed last night. And I'm just going to hit a couple bullet points. We're talking about familiar faces, new places, NFL script writers, views. That's all that, that's what they care about, getting as many people amped up for the game. You got Tyreek, which I was at that game Sunday night, which is
Mm-hmm.
last night when we're taping it. Man, and the wheels fell off of the Miami Dolphins. Tyreek now, since they lost, going back to KC. What a
Mm-hmm.
great story. What a great storyline that is. Matt Stafford and the Rams going back to Detroit, right? Where obviously he started his career and had a lot of success, but obviously he was able to take the Rams to the promised land. Mike McCarthy and the Packers. Well, he is the head coach of the Cowboys now, but he was a longtime head coach of the Green Bay Packers. They're not going back in, but the Packers are coming there. So, that's got to give you that warm, fuzzy
Huge
feeling.
matchup.
It's a
Huge matchup.
huge matchup, right? And this is the one where the NFL script writers are probably a little bit upset, because the script got tweaked just a little bit. But the Browns are heading back into Houston, right? Well, it's supposed to be Deshaun Watson at quarterback, but it is the old man Joe Flacco. Flacco. Shout out to
They
Delaware.
said they were. They said, "Oh no, Watson was supposed to be playing." It says Watson was supposed to be playing. They put that in there wrong.
Hey,
But
but
they said,
listen.
but they said Flacco can win, and then he can go to Baltimore next week. So
Yes, yes.
I
See,
got
that's the part. That's the part of the script.
this is a
You
good
got
one.
to
I can't
turn a
wait to see
couple
how it ends. But
pages.
this is a good
Yeah,
one.
alternate. It's called alternate scenarios. So,
Chapter in the back.
yes,
But man, we got
yes.
wild card weekends coming up. We're back. I can't wait for these games. Just a few stats, if you guys follow, I'm the stat man.
Stat man.
Since 2018, playoff games are 61% to the under. This year has been one of the biggest under years in since I can remember. So you're going to have a lot of low scoring games, is what the script might say.
Mm, mm.
Um, if you're looking just at wild card weekend, last year the underdogs were 4-2 with the spread. So it's a big weekend to take the underdogs and take the points. The favorites 2 years ago were 5-1. They kind of hit them in the mouth a little bit, but before that, 15-3 to the underdogs. Underdogs, you take the points on wild card weekend because it's two competitive teams. Either one can really win the game. Besides, I think Dallas is a big favorite and the Bills are a big favorite. But other than that, everything's a low number here. Anybody can win the game. So take the points. We're going to dive into these games in our next show this week, though.
Yes.
We will
We're-
dig deeper for you guys. For those of us who do follow, Jamon can't take the Saints and he can't take the Bears next week. So you're going to want to see who he has to take this time.
Yeah, I always, I'm a sucker for familiarity, and all that good stuff. But man, listen, it's playoff football. I'm excited. I'm excited for us to get back in and break these games down. That's what makes me happy. Ball makes me happy. I'm good. I'm happy to be back with you. But yeah, we do have a show next week, so but it's good to be back with you, big dog.
Good to be back with you, too. Can't wait for these games. We'll see you guys on the next episode.
Peace.